Hey there film fans, Kieran here with another episode of Kieran's Movie Space, the podcast where I review and discuss the latest movies. And in this episode, I'm going to be reviewing one of the most highly anticipated blockbusters of the year, Aquaman. Directed by James Wan, who's mostly known for his horror films like The Conjuring, Aquaman stars Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Patrick Wilson, Nicole Kidman, Willem Dafoe, Dolph Lundgren, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. The film, which is the latest installment of the DC Extended Universe, follows Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, as he sets out to defend the surface world from his half-brother Orm, who wants to destroy humanity for the way they've treated the oceans. For anyone that might not know already, I'm a massive DC Comics fan. Growing up, I was mostly obsessed with Superman, although as I've kind of gotten older, I've widened that net and I've kind of fallen in love with other DC characters like Batman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, and of course, Aquaman. Obviously, this isn't the first time we've seen Jason Momoa as the iconic underwater hero. He first appeared in a brief cameo in Batman v Superman before being fleshed out a bit more in last year's Justice League. And I actually think that other than maybe Wonder Woman, Aquaman was the best character in Justice League. I love how Jason Momoa plays the character as this really badass and cool surfer guy. And I'm just gonna say it now, I had a lot of fun with Aquaman. I really enjoyed this movie. There are aspects and parts of it that didn't really work for me, but I do think that Aquaman is yet another win for Warner Brothers and DC Comics, and I'm just kind of coming out of it and collecting my thoughts still, so I don't want to go into rankings or anything like that. I'll do that a bit later, but this is certainly up there with Wonder Woman as a really good, solid DC Comics movie. If you've listened to any of my other reviews, you'll know that I like to talk about what I enjoyed, then what I didn't like, and finally I like to give you guys my overall thoughts and my score out of 10. So getting straight into what I liked about Aquaman, the first thing that I've got to talk about is Jason Momoa, because he really does a fantastic job of bringing the character to life. This version of Aquaman is still very much the surfer dude that we met in Justice League, but as we go on this kind of adventure with him, we obviously get to know him a little bit more, and James Wan does a really great job of humanizing Arthur and making him a more relatable hero. And Momoa balances the cool side of the character with the more heartfelt side really well, and I walked out of this movie really caring about Aquaman and his journey. I'll admit that I went into this film not really knowing what to expect from Amber Heard as Mera, just because other than her small cameo role in Justice League, I hadn't really seen Amber Heard in anything, but I was really surprised by her performance in this film. I mean, it's not like it's the best performance of the year or anything, but she does a great job of introducing us to this character, and she handles some of the cheesy dialogue and the physical requirements of the film really well. I'm not saying they should do a Mera movie, but I would certainly buy a ticket to see more of this character. The villains in the film worked for me as well. I'm usually not a fan of having more than one villain in a movie. It never really worked for Spider-Man, but James Wan wonderfully delivered an entertaining villain in Ocean Master, while at the same time setting up what I think was an even better and more entertaining villain in Black Manta. What I think makes these villains work is that you can kind of understand where they're both coming from, especially Black Manta. You understand why he hates Aquaman so much, and then in Orm's case, you really get why you would want to destroy the surface world. So in this movie, we get not just one but two antagonists that are more than just your average kind of end the world for the fun of it villain. And the performances were solid as well. Patrick Wilson was really good as usual, and then Yahya Abdul-Mateen II came out with a really surprising and powerful performance. Aside from Jason Momoa as Aquaman, probably my favourite thing about this film was how James Wan and everyone involved just completely accepted and embraced how out there and weird and crazy this world and this insanely ridiculous character is. Things happen in this movie that I never thought I'd see in a million years. Honestly, some of the stuff in here is just absolutely bonkers. It's one of those things where you don't really believe what you're seeing until it's over, and then when you're walking out, you realise how insane what you just saw was. James Wan took a massive risk with a lot of this stuff, and for the most part, they really do pay off, and we get this really unique and outrageously crazy film because of them. When the trailers and teasers were being released, the thing most people seemed to be getting excited about was the CGI and the underwater effects, and I've got to say that you have no idea idea what's coming your way. On a visual level, this is one of the most breathtaking and beautiful movies I've ever seen, and the level of detail put into every frame is astounding. Atlantis looks absolutely incredible, the way the characters look when they're underwater is insane, just the detail on all the flowing hair and stuff was just incredible, and then it all comes together in the action sequences, which really are unlike anything we've seen before, especially in this genre. Every action sequence in this film has been constructed and executed flawlessly. We get Lord of the Rings scale battles, we get Star Wars style underwater chase sequences, and even if they weren't taking place underwater, most of the action scenes in this film would beat out almost every other superhero movie. And that's not to say this film is better than those, but just looking at the action, I'm struggling to think of many comic book films that rival the action that we get in this film. As you'll know if you've listened before, I'm a big fan of movie scores, especially in comic book movies, and the DC Extended Universe has given us some of my favourite movie scores of all time. The Wonder Woman theme is obviously fantastic, that whole score is incredible. I think Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel score is one of the best film scores of all time, and I really enjoyed what Rupert Gregson-Williams did with the score for this film, especially the Aquaman theme, which was just as cool and just as badass as the main man himself. And while we're speaking about music and sound design, I just want to quickly say that the way they altered the audio for the voices while the characters were underwater was great. I wasn't sure how they were going to make the characters sound underwater, but it absolutely worked. It made you believe they were underwater, and it just helped to make the world feel a bit more realistic. Now moving on to what I didn't like about Aquaman, my biggest issue with the film is that there are some scenes and some moments that just didn't make sense for me, because tonally they felt completely out of place. Obviously, I'm not going to say what they were, but there were just certain moments where I was wondering what James Wan was thinking when he made that decision. There are some musical choices that were totally wrong for the film, and they were just laughably cringeworthy. And I think if they had just tweaked a few things here and there, especially with the music, this could have been an even better film. With that said though, I am just talking about one or two scenes, so it's not like they ruined the whole movie for me. It just didn't really work for me and my taste as a viewer. Another thing that I think could have used a little bit more work was the chemistry between Jason Momoa and Amber Heard. I'm not sure if it was the writing, the direction, or the acting, but I really didn't feel the romantic connection between Arthur and Mayra. I think their relationship was really fun and the back and forth between them was cool to watch, but when romantic stuff started happening, I just didn't feel the chemistry. And honestly, even though these two characters are married in the comics, I would have been fine with them not having a romantic relationship, at least not yet, because like I said, the chemistry wasn't really there, and it felt kind of weird and awkward when anything remotely romantic occurred. To give Aquaman a score out of 10, I'm going to go with an 8. James Wan has delivered one of the coolest and craziest comic book movies I've ever seen. Like every film, Aquaman does have a few issues, and there was some stuff that didn't really work for me, but it's impossible to deny that Aquaman is an outrageously fun and utterly unique superhero film, which might have been one of the most insane and crazy cinematic experiences I've ever had. So that's it for my review of Aquaman. Have you had a chance to check it out yet? If so, let me know what you thought in the comments section below. Do us a favour and like and share this episode, and if you want to hear more movie reviews like this one, make sure you hit subscribe. For now though, cheers for checking out this review, I'll see you in the next one.